It's a good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millzy, back with Hometown Commander. And per user arrangement, we're here to brew another deck for you guys today. This is going to be the first deck in a couple. Now, I originally had planned for this week to be Phyrexia content, and well, I figured out very quickly that the whole set isn't out yet until Thursday. And so, as much as I want to do the pre-cons, we've seen the deck lists and that kind of thing, I kind of rather wait for the rest of the set to come out, because I'm feeling both decks will be waiting to see some things from the set. So that's going to be next week. So I thought, what can I do in the meantime to make some cool content and see what I can do. And in my previous call-out video, we talked about a little bit about the starter decks, and some people said they wanted to see me take a stab at some of the starter decks. So today we're looking at the first Flight Precon. This is the blue-white starter deck that just came out, around $20. Now the face commander for the box is Asperia Supreme Judge, but the secondary commander in the box is Kangee Warden. And I think for me personally, it's probably a little bit better we can have with Kangee than we can with Asperia. So I'm not going to call this like a $50 or $100 guide. That's not what this is. What this is my shot at trying to make this starter deck, keeping as much of it as possible, a fun deck where we can kind of up the power level a little bit, make it a little bit more thematic, and just get some better cards involved. So as we took the switch to Kangee, let's talk about Kangee. Kangee Warden, 3 white and a blue for a 3/3 bird wizard. Flying vigilance. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures with flying get +2/+0 until end of turn. Whenever it blocks, blocking creatures with flying get +0/+2 until end of turn. At the end of the day, we're trying to play flyers. Now, there's a lot of ways we could do this. I could see us spinning completely angels if we wanted to. We could spin a bunch of different ways. We could go birds. There's plenty of things we could do. I chose to kind of run the gambit and hit everything. I put in a lot of just kind of general good flyers, try to go wide, try to get a lot of value out of the deck. But first, I want to talk about what we kept. So we kept 41 cards from the original pre-con, mostly because I think this actual starter deck's not half bad. We got great things like Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, of course, like we get in most decks. They included Azorius Cygnus and Talisman of Progress. We actually got the Talisman in the starter deck, which is a big thing. We got our command tower, our command sphere, things we're probably already going to put in there anyway. We get a print of Swords to Plowshares there. Time Wipe got a print. That's pretty good. Time Wipe's a great board wipe. Got a copy of True Conviction, which is a teeny bit expensive, but I think it fits the game plan of what I'm trying to do with the Flyers deck. We got a Cartographer's Hawk. We got Biden of Thassa, Generous Gift, Favorable Winds, buffing all of our Flyers. Empyrean Eagle. I mean, I think Warden the VO style to make them cost less. I think this is a good cross-section of cards that the pre-con gave us that I would be content playing anyway. So that makes me really happy that 41 of our 99 cards from the main deck, and then of course our commander and Kangee being in the deck as well, are from the pre-con. Now we're going to go down. We're going to talk about the rest of the cards in the deck, and we'll talk about how kind of I'm trying to set up the list and where we're trying to go with it. So for artifacts, I added Fellwar Stone. I think Fellwar Stone works really well in this deck because most of our opponents are going to be playing blue or white anyway. And if they're not, we can just use that mana into one of our colorless pips on most of our creatures. Midnight Clock has a twofold benefit. One, it comes down and taps for blue. And two, once it gets those 12-hour counters, we shuffle in and draw a fresh 7. And I feel like that could be really important. And then since we're going to try to go wide and some of our things make tokens, I figured Strixhaven Stadium is going to help us end the game, even if we're only hitting our opponents with 1/1s. Every time we deal combat damage to a player, it gets a quest counter, a point counter, sorry. And then when it hits to 10, that player who we attacked that got that point counter from it loses the game. So this gives us a way to kind of beat our opponents down. It taps for colorless mana and puts a point counter on it. And then if we take damage, from a creature, we lose a point counter from it. But I just think this is a way to kind of help us with getting some of the incremental value and pushing forward to end the game a little bit with that. Now, going into the creatures, you're going to notice that I added a lot of really interesting things here. But my intention here is to try to add one, good flyers, two, flyers that could protect the other creatures or are just good in general, and then three, add a little bit of a life gain sub theme because I think it will just help us in the grand scheme of things. So Archangel of Thune kind of plays into this lifelink or this life gain sub theme. Whenever we gain life, we put a +1 counter on each of our creatures. This is just going to raise our entire board up, make our entire board better. Archangel of Tithes, stopping our opponent's creatures from attacking us, and then if it's attacking, it stops our opponent's creatures from blocking us unless they pay 1 each of those times. I think that's probably helpful enough, and a 3/5 for 4 is a lot better than some of the other creatures that we got in the deck. Archetype of Imagination, this is our high end, making all our opponent's creatures lose flying, and then all of our creatures have flying, so that's going to give us that tactical advantage. Aven Mind Sensor to shut down our opponent's searches. Dreamcrawler, draws cards and has lifelink. I think this is perfect for 5. Essior Waterwing Familiar is going to stop things from targeting Kangee, but it's just a 1/3 for 2 in the air, which is pretty good. Ishai, Ojtai Dragon Speaker, is probably one of the big creatures in the deck because it gets a +1/+1 counter every time an opponent casts a spell. Ishai just tends to get big, and it's going to get hard to deal with in the air. Kinjali Sunwing, making all of our opponent's creatures come in tapped. Kira is going to stop the first thing that targets any of our creatures each turn, which is great. It's going to help protect our creatures. Linvala, we can sacrifice to choose Hexproof or Indestructible, and all of our creatures gain that ability until end of turn. So she's just a value flyer in that she does us a lot of good. And she protect the board. Magus in the Moat, creatures without flying can attack. This could stop our opponents altogether from attacking us. Ornithopter Paradise for just a little bit of mana. Selfless Spirit to give all of our creatures indestructible. Safara, big attacker. Can come down for really cheap as long as we have enough creatures with flying, and then gives all of our creatures with flying indestructible. Sienna, Eye of the Storm, lets us scry every time she attacks, which is great. Look at those top cards playing out for the next turn. Siren Storm Tamer can counter a spell or ability that targets a creature we control, which could protect our commander. It could protect a lot of things, especially Archangel of Thune, these creatures that we want to get for good value. Steel Seraph from Brothers War, getting a combat creature we control gets flying, vigilance, so lifelink. I think more often than not, we want the lifelink to gain the life and keep that going. But it doesn't say another creature, it just says target creature, so we can choose Steel Seraph. Therium Watcher, giving all non-token creatures we control +1/+1 in vigilance, and it has vigilance itself. That's great, it means we can attack and then block for free. Watcher of the Spheres, dropping all of the cost of our flyers, and then whenever a creature with flying enters battlefield, Watch the Spheres gets a little bigger. And then Wingmate Rock is going to gain us life for each attacking creature when it attacks, and then if it comes in and we have attacked, we get an extra body of a token as well. So again, you could see here, just trying to raise the power level of the deck up a little bit, add some good flyers that give us good value, and just trying to make the deck a little bit better. It is a starter deck, so at the end of the day, we have the expectation of it being fairly weak. It's $20. They're giving you $20 worth of value. But I think here we're just trying to raise the bar just a little bit, pull ourselves up a little bit higher on the power level. And the big thing I did was come in here to the support and just try to raise our interaction, our support up to meet what we get out of the deck. So for enchantments, always watching to give all of our creatures vigilance, glorious Anthem, another pump alongside the favorable wins. Luminarch Ascension, once this gets to 4 counters, we can just make angel tokens for 2 mana. That's not a bad end game. Just pump out a bunch of tokens. Paladin class can buff our creatures. It can also give us attacking advantage. Reconnaissance mission is going to draw some cards. And then we have the Heuristic Study Smothering Tide package. Heuristic Study draws cards. Smothering Tide to get us more mana. I think in a blue-white deck, these 2 cards are probably staples at this point. And so it's worth throwing them in here. I think they might be a teeny bit wasted on this deck. But again, my goal was to kind of raise the power level up. See if I can make the deck a little bit better than it was in its current state. Getting into the instance, Chroma's Will can be a game ender, but if not, it can just be protection. Brainstorm, Psychrift, always a great way to interact with our opponents and potentially end the game, depending on the board state. Faithful Mending for some draw, Path to Exile, Pungify, Rapid Hybrid, and Reality Shift are all in here as removal. Cheap removal, because I don't think we're going to have a ton of extra mana sitting around. We really want to make sure we're taking advantage of all of the mana we can. Use sorceries, all rounds Epiphany, just for a little bit of extra turn action, but it does give us those birds. Farewell and Supreme Verdict are our board wipes to go along with the time wipe, and then Ponder and Preordain for some draw, and then Stolen by the Fae, which can return creature back to our opponent's hand and get us some 1/1 fairy. So just trying to get us some extra flying creatures. And then the lands, I just try my best to add some generally good white-blue lands that I think just can make the deck a little bit more consistent. The bounce land, I think, goes into a lot of good here, since the only ramp we have is drawing. Colonnade can become a creature, which isn't a bad thing. Deserted Beach from Midnight Hunt comes in tap unless you control two or more other lands. Flooded Strand can go get any of our basic lands, but it can also go get Hollowed Fountain, Irrigated Farmland, Idyllic Beachfront. So we have lots of options on the fetch there. Glacial Fortress will almost always come in untapped, since we have basics in the deck as well. We talk about the Hollowed Fountain. The Pathway just gives us a choice when it comes down. The Beachfront is going to always come in tap, but it provides us with both colors. I like this a little better than a Meandering River or anything like that, because it has the dual typing, so it does come into advantage. Irrigate Farmland can be cycled away later in the game if we don't need it. Mystigate can filter our mana, give us what we need. Nimbus Maze can give us either color eventually once we control both land types. Otawara for a little bit of bounce. Reliquary Tower to prevent us from having to discard. And then Sea Clouds is almost always going to come in on tap, because we're going to have two or more opponents. Brings up the total of the deck to the printings I have at 450. Now, I know there's going to be people out there who say, Millzy, this is a pretty low-powered white-blue Flyers deck. And I have to agree. I did not think that I could, unless you spin this Angels, which is you could if you wanted to. You could make this an Angels deck in blue-white and completely change up the deck and probably put good value in here, bring in Avacyn, bring in a lot of that life gain package. And you could make this a pretty good Flyers deck for the running. But what I wanted to do is just try to capture what the deck is trying to do out of the box, and just give anyone who finds this video, give someone who was looking at this deck and going, where can I bring it? Where can I kind of raise the boat up? Where can I kind of raise the power level up to at least a little bit? There's going to be someone who wants to see this video who isn't trying to make this deck an 8 or a 9, who isn't trying to dump a ton of money into every single good spell or every single best spell that's in there, that they just want to raise the power level of their deck up a little bit. And I think this deck might do half decent at a random commander night, at a random pod of just random decks. I think this deck would still be fun to play. It would give you the satisfaction of kind of snowballing and building value. And I think that's what, to me, is interesting of it. I realized very recently with my personal decks that I don't have a ton of the 4s and 5s, the stuff that you pull out against other people who are just coming into the game, and you want to have a sloggy matchup and have some fun. And I think this is one of those decks that could do that. I think that probably some people are going to look at this list and go, I don't want to give up my Rhystic Study or my Smothering Tide to build a deck like this. And sure, you could replace them. You could find other things. We could bring in military intelligence or something like that to replace those for more card draw. I mean, there's plenty of ways we can go with the deck. But I thought it would be interesting to kind of take a look at the starter deck, see what I would do to it, just a little bit of time, and recommend a path to start going towards for someone who really loves the idea of blue-white Flyers. Doesn't necessarily want to spend the money for Angels or something like that, but still wants to kind of, like I said, just push their deck up a little bit further. But the deck list is going to be down in the description. Let me know what you guys think of this Kangee list. I don't know. I had a ton of fun building it, and I hope that you see the fun that I had in building it and trying to find ways to make the deck better. Let me know what you would have included. What are some white-blue cards you would have included that I didn't think about? I think that's one of my favorite things about doing this series is you guys telling me what you think about certain cards or cards I missed. And I go, yeah, you're 100% right. I didn't even think about that. Throw them down in the comments. Give me a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see some more deck techs. And I will catch you next time.